So that's when I learned that people will put spells on people, and it's literally almost like a jinx. If a person is walking around being called a nickname all the time, it's very rare and far-fetched that somebody is going to call them by their genuine name. And so therefore that curse, that entity or whatever that's been assigned to them is going to stay on them until their truest form is being called out, right? So that's like I had an ex and everybody called him by his last name. I didn't call him by his last name. First of all, what the fuck I look like calling you by your last name? That's some jail ass shit. And mind you, I know this firsthand because I was just in there. So I know that you being called your last name is a conditionary behavior because you've been institutionalized most of your life. I'm not calling you by your last name. You probably don't and it's funny because when I start calling him by his name, I would be having conversations with him and I'd be like, Tyree, I'm not doing this with you. And he'd be like, why do you do that? And I'm like, what? He's like, you be calling me by my name and this, that, and the third. And then he basically explained that no one ever really does that. He said he had people in his life who he knew for all his life. And here and there, they would call him his names. He said he primarily only heard somebody call him by his name when he was acting out of character. And I said, well, I'm going to change that because if that's the narrative that you're used to, I'm going to change it. I'm going to call you by your name when we're having conversation. I'm going to call you by your name when we're having loving interaction because you need to learn how to love yourself. You can't be called your name only when you acting bad because it formulates as a curse word. It comes off as someone using your name to curse you essentially, right? And people don't realize that. I'm not calling you by your nickname. I'm not calling you by whatever the streets call you. You know what I'm saying? On some cute shit, maybe here or there, but I'm not calling you that bullshit. And half the time, even if I do call you your name, I'm about to jazz it the fuck up. I told you I had an ex named Shy Meek. I used to call this nigga Shy and put an I at the end where the Y goes. I never called my daughter's father by his nickname, even though he also decided at some point he didn't want to call me by my nickname. So again, he tried to change my name into pretty much a curse. I don't give a fuck. I'm not out here being called the Holy Hand, nigga. You sound like you give out hand jobs in church. But hey, who are me to judge, you know? When you see someone acting out of character, call their name and call them back into their vessel. You know what I'm saying? Same thing I told y'all before about calling somebody the B word or the N word when they're acting out of character. You're further asking that person to continue to act out of character. They're going to act like a bitch. They're going to act like a nigga. Don't do that. But a lot of times calling out a person's behavior literally breaks the curse that they have on them. They're not even in awareness of what they're doing most of the time. They're almost in a trance-like state. It's like, I told y'all about sleeper agent type shit before. Like, when certain things are said and done, they just go into this active mode and they start behaving a certain way. You got to call them out of it.